I mean, I've been in the area of e-learning more generally since the mid-90s, early 90s, when I started lecturing in chemistry. So I first of all created rich interactive materials for my students. I created one of the first virtual learning environments in the UK using a system called WebCT. And then as social media came in, I think that's when the notion of PLEs came about, because as I said in the talk today, it was about moving beyond the institutional VLE or learning management system to incorporation of freely available social media and enabling learners to take more control of their own environment, to be able to mix and match. And I often do at conferences an interesting exercise where I ask people to draw their personal learning environment. It's very interesting to see what's in scope. So the ways in which people, why do some people communicate through email or LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter? What are the affordances of these different technologies, and what are our own personal preferences and characteristics, which mean that we're much more likely to be contactable by Facebook messaging than email, for example, which is true in my case. I think about the context for Malaysia versus other countries. I couldn't say because I don't know enough about your educational context, but I certainly think that there are very definitely cultural differences between broadly, crudely if you like, Western perspectives and Asian perspectives, which will influence how students or learners interact. We know that in certain cultures, the teacher is considered the expert, the font of all wisdom. Therefore, students are reluctant to go against them. Whereas in other cultures, it's considered more of a consumer perspective. The learners are paying, therefore they're demanding, therefore they can be critical. And so you see these very different cultural contexts. And I think it relates back to what I was saying in the talk today about relating the notion of PLEs to different socio-cultural perspectives, understanding that our PLE will be socially constructed, built on historical perspective, built on local situated practices and cultures, which will influence how people interact. I had a lovely Chinese student, PhD student working with me, and she went to do an MSc, a master's program in the UK, and she hated it. She said, I have come to the UK, I have paid money to be taught by professors, by experts in the field. I do not want to sit around in a room where other students are talking all the time about their perspectives. So for her, the kind of whole constructivist notion of learning was a complete antithesis to the way that she wanted to learn. So I do think we need to understand the cultural perspectives much more, and it would be very interesting to know more about the Malaysian context. I think there are now a plethora of ways in which we communicate, both as learners and teachers, and we are all learners in some respects. And as I said in the previous answer, I think we each have personal preferences for which we like and don't like. For me, one of the most exciting things is that I think through social media, we've seen a levelling of the environment. So in the past, it was the professor up here, the lowly PhD student down here, and they would never communicate. And certainly in the past, researchers, PhD students, would be reluctant to email a professor. But if they're on Facebook, and I'm connected to lots of students and young researchers on Facebook, even though I might never have met them, they feel more connected to me, I guess because of the pictures of cats or what have you, that they feel able to just send me a Facebook message and say, these are my research questions, what do you think? Or have you got any good references on this? Whereas they would never have in the past emailed me. So there's a levelling, I think, which is kind of really, really liberating in a social media context. But the other thing is that we all have very strong views about this. Some people love Facebook, some people hate it. Some people use it totally for personal things. Other people, like me, mix it with social, family and professional. Some people absolutely loathe it. So I think we have to be aware that people will, again, going back to the central notion of a PLE, a PLE is not just a collection of tools. It's a personalised collection of tools, and each of us will have different sets. I think understanding where Malaysia is, I thought it was a very inspiring talk this morning by your Deputy Director General from the Ministry of Education, Higher Education, understanding the kind of blueprint she outlined in terms of the Malaysian context for going forward, and ensuring that blueprint is actually owned by all the relevant stakeholders, from the ministers down to practitioners and senior managers and institutions, and then working as a strategy for taking it forward. So ultimately it's about where's the vision for where you want to be in terms of Malaysia. You're very well set up technologically. I mean, the Wi-Fi is fantastic here. It's not a problem. So you have a very good basis for taking it forward, but you have to realise how you harness the notion of PLEs will be very culturally dependent.
Thank you, Prof. Okay, if you are given a magic wand, what is the one thing that you will do in education context?
I think tackle the issue about social inclusion. I think free social media, free open educational resources, massive open online courses, all had the rhetoric of enabling social inclusion, and it's not happening. And I think that's very sad, because I think still the power and the affordances, the characteristics of technologies are still really only being benefiting the few, the privileged. I have an excellent PhD student from Rwanda, Bernard, who's doing a PhD particularly looking at how open educational resources and massive open online courses can be used in a Rwandan context. And I think we need more research like that. So for me, if I could have the magic wand, actually, meeting the rhetoric about social inclusion would be great.
My image is that when we use the word formal, it sometimes just tells you the shape of what you're doing. And I think beyond formal means beyond just the shape. In reality, what does it actually become when you use it? And obviously for me as a teacher, I always worry about more than just the shape of something. How will it actually be when I try it out with my students? And how will it be when they experiment with it? So for me, it's actually making it more real. So that's the main thing for me. But I don't know what the organisers had in mind. That was my image anyway. Well, one reason I came up with the idea of the flipped classroom was obviously that I thought it would fit in to the PLE conference, because it's one part of the PLE, and it's one of those buzzwords everyone's talking about. So I thought, well, perhaps it would be interesting to everyone. But actually, in my department at Konan University in Japan, which is a management department, the Hirao School of Management, we've been using ideas of the flipped classroom with our students for the first time this semester. So it's sort of new and fresh. And so I think what we were doing was probably what the teachers here were doing, experimenting and trying to do a good job, not sure we knew what we were doing, but trying something new. I think like UNITAR is trying new things, and it's a kind of action research, and you hope it goes well, and on the whole it did go very well. Wow, education in Japan, that's a big topic. Well, some people have actually been very negative about it in the media. They make comments that, Japanese students don't try hard or they're lazy and things like that. Actually, what we've found in our department is that as teachers, as long as we have high expectations of our students and of ourselves, and we say to the students before they enter our university, you realize we do have expectations and we do expect you to study hard, they're very happy to buy into that. And our success rate with our students in terms of getting jobs has been excellent. So I think our students are also happy that they have that challenge, and that we don't dismiss their ideas and just say, take it easy, you'll be fine. We actually do say, you've come here for a reason, to get a good education, and we try our best to provide it, to the best of our ability. Again, obviously, I'm not an expert on education in Malaysia, but I was here yesterday. We had a session, and I visited another university too. And some of the people who attended my sessions mentioned that students in Malaysia tend to be shy, tend not to ask so many questions in class, they do some at the time, and that they just want to pass their exams, get a degree and graduate. And when I heard them say that, I immediately thought of my Japanese students, because people say the same thing there. And so my response was, I don't know your context, I need to learn more about it, but I really think that please do have expectations for your students, because think about what they can do, don't think about what they can't do all the time. So, you know, remember when you were a student, you probably had dreams too, and if your teachers didn't expect much of you, you probably didn't try so hard. So I think as teachers and educators, we should have high expectations here in Malaysia as well as in Japan. It's the first time for me to attend a PLE conference, but I have been interested in this idea of the personal learning environment for some time, and I wanted to find out more about it. Also, I attended EuroCall in Portugal last September and presented there. And EuroCall, you know, is the computer-assisted language learning, basically for language teachers using computing and technology. And actually, in my department at Konan, we hosted the Japan Call conference a couple of years ago. So I've had this long-standing interest, and you know, I'm an author of Pearson materials in blended learning. So of course, you know, I've got this long-standing interest, and I wanted to find out more because, you know, a lot of this has come out of the research we did in blended learning and the materials we made. Wow, the magic wand. Well, firstly, I think if I was given a magic wand, I would give it away because it might corrupt me, and I might do all the wrong things with it. But probably with that magic wand, wow. I think one thing I've become more interested in over time is kind of the democratization of education. And so if I could change anything, it would kind of be like just an attitude change that we often tend to give up on children and young adults and say that they're not good students and things like that. And actually, if there were access in education and fairness for more students, regardless of their background, their gender, all these other things, and that they weren't restricted. So opportunity, I see as the biggest problem. So often kids from a wealthy background have the best education because of better opportunities and family support and other things. And so I think what I'd really like to see is just more opportunity for more people, that education isn't just for an elite, it is for everybody. So that's kind of a simple thing for a magic wand, but of course it hasn't been achieved yet.
My name is Cristina Costa. I work at University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, Scotland. I'm a lecturer in lifelong learning with an edge on technology-enhanced learning, and I'm currently the course leader for the postgraduate certificate and diploma in lifelong learning in the digital age. So that means kind of focusing on the broad area of technology in education and in kind of other social contexts. It's rather interesting the kind of the group of people that it attracts and the formalities that are associated with it, which is the PLE conference has always kind of pride itself for being a more informal conference, and I see the cultural clashes here with that kind of in a way aspect, but I'm really enjoying the kind of the different opinions and the different experiences that are coming through the papers and through the kind of the chats that we have over coffee. So it's been a really good experience. I think people loosen up a bit more when they're in an informal setting, and they kind of give a little bit more of themselves because they don't always have to be watching what they're doing. So I would privilege informal, and that's kind of the ethos of social media and technology as well, is how people kind of put themselves across in a more informal and genuine way. So I do value the informal more. I think it's a good thing. It's like everything. There's good and bad practices everywhere. I think the press, the traditional media, has given quite often a bad image of how young people are using social media. There's a lot of cases reported in the UK, for instance, on bullying, and but there are also very interesting cases of how young people are reporting about different aspects of society, like if you look at in Scotland, the case of the young little girl that provided pictures about the school meals and how that did change, radicalized how meals in schools are now being provided, and so I think there's always a good and a bad side to how those anything is done and how things are appropriated. In general, I think the use of social media by young people is a great tool for them to engage in wider debates. It's just how we socialize them again and how we help them develop that habitus as part of their practices. So again, we're still trying to make sense of all of these technologies and how we're using them. But in general, I think it's a very positive thing for young people to have access to. Well, that is, I think marketing, PR is a very changing, right now it's changing very, very fast, and it has to, because otherwise it will die in the form that it is. And especially because what we've talked this morning is the power is shifting from the companies that used to advertise products and any kind of practices to the people that do it themselves. And even if you want to look broader, you can look at how celebrities are taking over their own presence online instead of relying on paparazzi to expose their own lives. So it's shifting, and I think it's an industry that has to readapt very, very fast. And again, I think it's a positive thing, because you don't only get one view, you get different perspectives of the same reality, and then you can compare and contrast. So again, I'm all up for this kind of more democratic, and obviously in all of this there's manipulation of information as there was before. Nothing is just positive or negative, but I think right now the positives outbalance the negatives, so I'm quite excited about these developments. Well, I've only been here for a couple of days, so my knowledge of Malaysian education is still quite quite scarce. But what I would say is, from what I've heard, it depends of context to context. I've heard that schools is still a very transmission mode. I think we're probably further ahead in the UK in that sense, because of some initiatives, especially in Scotland, even if compared to the other parts of the UK, we have been able now to implement the curriculum for excellence. That does rely on pupils engaging in a more interdisciplinary environment. I'm not going to say that the integration of technology is 100%. It's not, because there's the lacking of infrastructures, and also then the development of skills of staff and mindsets. But we're definitely moving towards that way. I think what Asia has in advantage to Europe in general is the accessibility to technology, which seems to be even higher than in Europe. And I'll give you an example. We were staying in a place that did not have internet, and we were able to set up mobile Wi-Fi. You still cannot do that in the UK. You can have dongles for personal computers, but not mobile Wi-Fi. So that's the development here are faster, but maybe now what you need is to catch up with the practices. So things are changing. I think it's not that we're still living in the dark ages in terms of education. It's just things take time to change, because there's so many aspects that need to change at the same time, being infrastructure one of the crucial ones, and many schools still don't have the infrastructure. In terms of universities, the infrastructure is there. We probably need to change the mindset a little bit, but even that is changing because of students' demands. So things are getting there. Again, it's not probably not as fast as we would like to, but we will be in a way almost forced to change with the changes that are taking place outside, and we need to bring them to make education relevant. So it's getting there. Again, like my knowledge of Asia is quite limited. What you will see is that parents like to be informed, so they do most times welcome the use of these platforms as a way to engage with the activities of their children, and that's especially in schools where the head teacher uses or the teachers use Twitter or blogs to kind of create newsletters and update what's happening in the classroom. It's generally welcomed by the parents because they like to know what their children are up to. So, you know, in that sense, yes, again, it's down to economic power. If your school demands that your kid has this device or that, it all depends if there's parents are able to afford or not. So again, there's things that go beyond our will to do those things. I don't think that parents are against technology. They might be a little bit fearful of the consequences of using technology. Also, again, influenced by what the media is being displaying about cyberbullying and all of those kind of issues. But again, they need to engage with those issues if they want to tackle them, because ignoring them will not be the answer. So, yeah.
Agree. Okay, doctor. Last questions. Yeah. If you are given a magic wand, what is the one thing that you'll do in education?
What thing? That's a very difficult question. I think again is the mindset. I think it's about how people would work together and kind of look at different ways to create real acts of knowing, as we talked about this morning. It's about getting everyone on board and creating a space where students leave equipped with more than knowledge, with a good embodied cultural capital, with the values that they need to go and change society, because that's what education is about. It's about how we make a change in people's lives and how that is carried over after they leave. So for me, you know, that's the ideal that I would like to be able to empower people with.
I'm originally Irish, hence the funny name, but I've been in the UK most of my life. I head up a research institute called the Institute of Learning Innovation at the University of Leicester in the UK. And we investigate the use of technologies for learning, for teaching and for research. We have a range of particularly EU-funded projects. We also have a vibrant body of PhD students. Tony Ratcliffe, one of our students, is here at the conference, which is great. We're also very active on social media. So I think it relates to what Christina Costa was saying this morning in her keynote. It's about doing. It's about being immersed in the technologies in order to be able to understand them. I'm delighted to be here in Kuala Lumpur. I'm looking forward to doing some shopping. And it's been a very interesting conference so far. I think the concept of PLEs is a very interesting one. I'll be interested to hear what people think in terms of the concept of taking it further, in terms of the notion of PLE Plus that I talked about yesterday, bringing in the physical dimension of personalised or personal learning as well, alongside the digital. So that's my background. I was lucky enough to be at the conference, I think it was in Spain or Portugal a few years ago. Christina was there. Oh no, she wasn't there. She was doing her thesis, finishing off her thesis. And I did a keynote alongside Ricardo from Barcelona. And what we did is we got some of the key names in the field to do little videos of what their concept of PLEs was about. An excellent video by Stephen Downes where he compared or contrasted, if you like, the notion of virtual learning environments or learning management systems with PLEs. And a number of other people gave their views. And then we showed those videos and opened up a discussion during the session to get audience participation on what they thought. So it was an excellent conference. It was a small community, very vibrant, lots of nice additional social elements. So in terms of next year, I think it'd be great to bring in more of that social dimension again and have more interactivity. It's very difficult with a conference. It's often packed with presentations and it's very much didactic and linear one way. And I think it's good to give people the chance to interact with each other. At a related conference, they have the concept of home groups. So people are assigned into groups of about 20. They each have a facilitator. So after the keynote session, people go to their home groups and have an hour to discuss what they thought about the keynote. Because often people are bubbling over with ideas, but they don't have time to ask it after the presentation, or they're too scared to ask a question. So the home group gives you a chance to really unpack what the key issues were, and the keynotes go around the home groups and contribute. And it's also a really good way of getting to know more delegates at the conference, because you get to interact with the people. I was lucky enough, the facilitator for mine was a lady called Solveig, who's based in Iceland, and as a result of meeting her there, she then invited me to do a talk in Iceland a few months ago, which was great. I think in my line of work it's very important. I think it's you have to be, as I said, in the social media and active. And I've just found it's transformed the way I research. So by live blogging activities, I'm able to unpack, ideas I've got, and people come back and say, I like this, I don't like that, or have you seen this work? So it's a really wonderful way of being part of a community. And through, in particular, things like Twitter and Facebook, I can keep up to date with some of the key developments. People post wonderful links and resources, and I get a lot of kind of value out of that. And indeed, a number of the things I had in my keynote yesterday were literally from posts that I saw in Facebook over the last week or so. I think in terms of being part of social media, it's important that you're participatory, that it's a two-way process. So you have to give and take. So you can ask questions of the community for sure, but then you have to be prepared to support and answer other people. So a colleague, Eric Duval, who's a professor in Leuven University in Belgium, a little while ago posted, I'm just about to do a session with my new engineering students. What should I tell them about being an engineering professional? So a number of us replied and said, well, I think you should say this and this, and he was able to capitalise and curate that mass of knowledge and apply it to his students. I think, as I said yesterday, the other really valuable benefit for me is that social media are a leveller. So it's no longer the professor up here and the student down here. Whereas in the past, a student wouldn't have dared email a professor. If they're connected on Facebook, they can just Facebook chat to you and say, here are my research questions, what do you think? Or can you give me some references on this? And it's a really nice way of getting to know people as well personally. It's that nice mix of, I find anyway, the mix of personal and professional. I was saying in the car this morning, it's great when you come to a conference like this and you connect with people. If somebody gives you a card, you'll probably lose it and never see them again. But you connect on social media, and then you have this connection with them. And then if I said, oh, I'm back in Kuala Lumpur, people might say, oh, I'm here, come and see us, or come and do a talk for us. So it's been a wonderful way of connecting. And as I said yesterday, I've now worked at 5 institutions, but I don't feel a loss when I move on, because I feel connected to the global community of people I'm connected with. And there's like an onion shell set. There are people I will interact with all the time. So Christina is one of them, Martin Weller is another, and so there are people who are likely to retweet what I do or to ask comments. So a number of people who aren't at this conference are following what we're doing through the hashtag. So I think it's Leander, I think it's her hashtag name, just tweeted both of us this morning and said, oh, I really like the social applied network. That's really useful as an introduction to sociology for somebody like me. So you can be part of a conferencing network. And I think these kind of videos are great as well, because people can get some interaction beyond the kind of formal presentations. For me, I think being part of social media has certainly transformed my practice. I love blogging. It's much easier to write a 500-word blog post than it is a whole article. But by writing that 500-word blog post and getting feedback, you can then start to develop your ideas. And in my last book for Springer, Designing for Learning in an Open World, I live blogged chapters as I went, and people gave me comments and feedback, and I was able to incorporate those into the next draft. So for me, in terms of my own personal network, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's my blog, it's the blog of others that I follow on my blog roll, it's Skype. So I have a number of things that I use for different reasons. I think it'd be great to have the conference here again, maybe in Penang or somewhere. I mean, Kuala Lumpur's great. I'm looking forward to exploring and shopping on Saturday. I think it's nice to move conferences around because you get a different set of delegates and you spread the word, if you like. And I think conferences have different sub-themes, different flavours, different communities. So the PLE network is one, you've got the network learning community, you've got the Ascalite conference in Australasia, Eden Network in Europe. And they all have a different flavour, so I think that's useful.
Good morning, Prof. Thank you for being here with us. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Ali Jafari. I'm a professor with Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. I'm also director of a cyber lab. And I don't know what else you want to know, but that's basically me.
I believe that you're a father of life learning, is it? Is that true? A father of life learning, that you created that and they call you as father?
All right. Yeah, I'm 1997. We basically created one of the very first learning management system called OnCourse that became an open source, which is very similar to Moodle. Moodle is very popular in Asia, and Sakai is more popular in North America. So I think you are referring to the OnCourse Sakai project.
As you know, right, Prof, UNITA is using Moodle. What do you think about Moodle? Is it outdated or still ongoing? What do you think about that?
Well, so you need to listen to my talk. So that's what I'm going to elaborate on it. But Moodle, like other learning management system, is based on the 1997 thinking and framework. So since then, so many things has changed. There are new expectations, for example, for the learners, that they want to see some social activity, some learning collaboration included. We have to include the global function, so a student can be connected to their global classmate. So Moodle, Sakai, and there are a number of commercial systems out there. So they do not provide that functionality. So I strongly believe that actually that functionality must be included in today's teaching and learning environment. And once we do that, it would definitely, at least this is what we have experienced with the course networking project, that would substantially increase the engagement and make the learning environment more sticky, kind of like a Facebook. So that was basically my thought.
I have that interest on engagement wording. What do you think about personalized learning environment, engagement, and also personalized learning environment conference? What do you think about it?
Well, this is a very good conference. So first of all, I would like to thank UNITAR for hosting it, and also I would like to thank the conference coordinator. So they've done a great job. I think it's very important to have such a conversation, especially have teachers and learners to become aware of new technological solution, new ideas, new renovation, and I believe this is what the PLE or personal learning environment is. And I find a good number of presentation this paper. So I would like to thank you thank UNITAR for hosting this conference.
Thank you, Prof. What do you think about education today, Prof? Education versus 19th century, 2000, and nowadays that students are more engaging into Facebook, social media, other social medias, and education will be a little bit harder to get their interest in serious stuff rather than social media stuff. What do you think about education?
Well, I should say, and this is what I strongly believe, that if you look at information technology as an enabler, that affected the different aspects of our society. When it comes to education, IT hasn't played a major role. What I mean by enabler, for example, look at medicine. Today medicine practices, the surgery is substantially different thanks to IT, information technology. Look at e-commerce. Look at social entertainment like Facebook, Twitter. Look at media, all has changed because of information technology. But unfortunately, when it comes to education, we are still using the very old paradigm that I was talking about. I mean, we are using the LMS technology, which is 18 years old, does not support any social learning, does not support any global connection. And I believe this is something that somebody needs to do something about it. And in fact, we see ourselves with a new project. This is one of the goals that we have, to truly introduce the next generation of learning environment, which is social, which is global, which is engaging. And once we could develop and roll out this new environment, definitely it would make the learning more enjoyable. It would make it more, it would increase the learning outcome. And so basically that was my 2 cents opinion.
Okay, Prof. Most of Asian countries, they don't believe in letting students to bring iPad or tablets to schools, especially handphones. So, what do you think of that kind of rules that will be limit the students in Malaysia or other countries?
Mm-hmm. I would say probably maybe I could agree for that, because right now, as I mentioned, the learning management system is not really taking advantage of the capability of connecting the students to their peers outside of the classroom. So with this, maybe the reason that they are not comfortable doing this because of the noise level, or basically the iPad, the laptop could be used as a distraction to the student. But I would say once we have the next generation of learning environment, which actually could provide the very usable practical tool for teaching and learning, so probably would be more justification for a student and for the teachers to further use the laptop, the mobile technology in the schools in teaching and learning. I mean, one thing that I noticed myself, I have observed, and I'm sure you have observed too. If you just walking down the hallway in the university and see what the students are doing on their laptop or on their smartphone, they are not looking at the learning management software. They are checking their Facebook, and I think this is the major problem we have. I mean, we must create a new learning environment that would make it, as sticky as Facebook. So it would be more justifications for a student. Actually, there would be tools that could be used in their mobile technology instead of just using it for social entertainment, for social networking, and other aspects of the life which is not necessarily important for the teaching and learning.
I agree. To let the sticky LMS for students, because they are more engaging into other stuff rather than factual material, Prof. Okay, Prof, what do you think about PLE Conference in Malaysia, and how do you find Malaysia so far?
Well, I've been to Malaysia 20 plus times. So I love coming to Malaysia. I mean, I like the culture, I like the people, I like the food. And the only thing I don't like about coming to Malaysia is 20 plus hours of flight, and basically losing 1 day of your time coming and going. But I really like coming to, as I mentioned, I've been here more than 20 times. And again, thank you for, UNITAR to invite me to come to Malaysia this time for this conference.
Thank you for being here. The last question, Prof. If you're given a magic wand, what would you do with that magic wand? Are you going to change the education or the world?
In fact, we have a tag phrase for the new project that we are working on, and the tag phrase is changing the way the world learns. And that goes back to the argument that I had, that information technology has not yet played a major role as an enabler in teaching and learning. And I think this is something that all of us need to do. I mean, we need to invent new idea. new pedagogical solution that can take advantage of information technology, take advantage of mobile technology, take advantage of wireless network, and I think this is something that all of us in academia and of course in the corporate side, we have to work on it.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very interesting, especially with all the new technology in education, especially for me because I'm half professional with a company in professional training and half academic. In fact, because I'm working as a lecturer in different universities, part-time lecturer, but at the same time I have a training center which is linked to professionals. So it's very interesting to get all this new technology, especially for professional, and apply it as well in the academic world. PLE Conference is my first time. I've been invited by UNITA to go to this conference, and I think I will come back regularly. What to change in education today? I would say teachers. Even if I'm a lecturer or a teacher, I would say we have to change the way we teach. We are no more I would say a teacher, I mean a one-way teacher from teaching students something. Now we have to be more entertainer or kind of coach. That means that they can find by themselves all the stuff for training, for learning, and we can no more deliver just what we know because they have the knowledge. So you have to be the little exciter in the class and no more the one who knows everything. Well, Malaysia, I'm half Malaysian because I'm married to a Malaysian wife. So I've been in Malaysia for the past 4 years and it's okay for me. I love Malaysia, especially the culture and the food because I'm French, so I love food and Malaysia is perfect for me as well.
I'm here to see what's going on in PLE, which is very, very new to me. Maybe it comes in different name, but it was there before, but it's in different form. And I'm also a guest to the faculty. It is an eye-opener, right? Where learning never stops and never ends. And for me, it is another progression in the knowledge of how learning and teaching will be modeled on. It's something to do with engaging with the environment or managing the environment. It is not a new era. As I said just now, it's managing with the situation and with a lot of distractions, all right, taking place. The learning progress have got to be adapted and adopted to the environment and situation. Right now, with the advent of IT, which is very much related to social IT, I would consider it as a distraction to conventional learning. So the wisdom in this is it has used a social media into a learning tool. Okay? And the other factor to consider is everyone is not able to cope equally with this present environment. So there must be some personalization taking place. So instead of getting the trainer or teachers individually, which nobody can afford, now you have the medium to do it for you.
The conference managed to actually bring about the concept of personalization of learning in Malaysia, which I think is quite good because I think in this side of the world we don't actually understand what we mean by personalization of learning. It's actually through contacting them through social media. You know, it's all about getting into that community that has been advancing into coming into Asia and saying that we are also interested to understand this concept further. Well, basically the world right now is globalized. You know, you don't have any barriers or you could say, you know, the students can actually go into Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter and find groups of community that they are interested in and be in that community to understand further things that are going on around the world. Well, I would like to, but usually PLE moves from one country to another, so we'll see if our turn will come in another round.
This is the first time I'm exposed to PLE, personalized learning environment. And unconsciously I have been doing that, reflecting as oh, that's what I've been doing. And also in one of the workshops they were sharing, they did a survey of postgraduate students and looked at how they, how they learn. And going into this new generation and this century, there's a lot of, the two things came out. One is they like interactive learning, and number two is they have problem with time management. Okay, so personalized learning then gives, it's like, for me, maybe I may be wrong, but the way I understood it is like you personalize the learning both for the learner and for the lecturer. You personalize the learning for the student. And of course, our mindset is to, as a lecturer, it's not about enhancing teaching, it's about enhancing learning. So then I need to know my students' appetite, what their problems are, how, and I then manage the delivery to suit their appetite, So that's personalized learning in my terms. And I think I've been consciously doing it, like in the class, the students who are a bit struggling and then the ones who are doing well, we sort of cater to them, like the students, you pay more attention, you have more interaction with them, you call them. I mean, I didn't do online, it's more of calling them to my room and then as a group, not just one person, because then one person feels, so as a group and just sharing and helping each other. So that's sort of personalized learning for me. I think it's the mindset change on the part of the lecturers, that it's no more I teach you learn kind of thing. I try to facilitate your learning. So that's how I take from this conference, I think. Well, actually one of the sharing also I learned is that, this, we're talking about disabled students. I mean, not disabled physically, but they have challenges. Some have short-term memory, some have got problems reading, but you don't know that. So if you are doing a lecture, in the class, they may not be able to follow, and they will just, because they can't, they need something repeatedly. So personalized. So if you know these students, then you don't have to know them, but when you do this online podcasts or videos, they can sit at their own leisure, read it or listen to it over and over. And also one of the things I learned 2 days ago on the workshop was this thing called Jing. And you see, when students submit written work, right, you just write your comments, but they may not understand the comments you've written. So with the comments, you actually have a voiceover, like, the Jing, and you tell them, hey, this is where this is what you have to do, this probably look at it this way. If we say, and we can say a lot of things, when you want to write, you become constrained. So that's something I learned. If you did, it doesn't take much effort, because each script, you're already, like me, I'm already, when I'm writing, I'm talking to myself. I might as well talk to tape it, video, so you can see yourself and your comments, and then email it to the student. That's what this professor did. It sort of emails to, so the student gets your voice as well, and then the link, and she goes, and especially if they are slow and shy, this is something they get personal. Not much effort on our part, because it's what we are doing, but then we think one size fits all. It doesn't. The way we deliver may have to be catered to the different needs of the students. And also they can, with IT, they can access it anywhere, right? They can download it, they can have it in most of them have smartphone and whatnot, so they can be learning, they're with it all the time. So it's a constant, so that's why I think this is a very good idea, and technology can enable this, so of course. In fact, we'll have to start discussion groups on preparing, for sharing. Like this conference, I think my faculty, my colleagues, first time, no one had an idea of what we can, but if we start next semester doing this, then we can share our experience at the next conference.
All right, we are all of us from Central College Penang, and I just started as a right now program coordinator and a lecturer, and she's
School of Computing.
Hey, my name is Aka, School of Computing.
Hi, I'm Gigi from Central College as well.
I think it's very beneficial because right now you gave us more ideas and insight. How do we actually apply? Because the thing is that we know about all these how do you say this application everything, but then it's like we don't really know how to use it. So now they give some ideas, and actually it would be better if like the other workshop is actually longer, so we actually can learn more. Yeah. So what do you guys think then?
Yeah, we agree. When we go back, we are probably gonna have another training session and share it with our colleagues. Yeah.
Yes, you actually do, because it sort of like bring us down like the barrier. We can actually get closer to our students, because this is like we have to bring ourselves down to the level and then to actually bring them up to our level right now. It's not like in older days like traditional teaching where like I'm going to tell you this, you just do it, because it's so different really. Yes, definitely. Yeah.